Okay. Um, this is William. Hello, everybody. Um, I am, I have invited Martin Shen to this recording of um, an interview January 9th, which happens to be Richard Nixon's birthday, by the way. I don't know why I know that. And hopefully he'll join here shortly. And this will be not a long interview because I think Martin is still under a little bit of an umbrella of the recent offering, but we'll let him tell us. I'm right now just talking in order to give him time to join. We may have to start again. I don't know. Let me invite him again. I'll just invite him again. Bear with me. Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if I should invite a second time. Let me text him. Do you see the invite? Thank you for your tolerance that this is a little unprofessional at the beginning. I think I have to be recording to invite him, but maybe not. We'll see. So anyway, Finger, as you know, did a raise recently with Roth Capital. We'll talk about that briefly. We'll talk about the use of proceeds, hopefully. I think he'll touch on the dividend / warrant, the warrant as a dividend. And I think we'll talk about, I don't know if we'll talk about third quarter earnings. Maybe he can give us a date as to when it can happen. Well, when it'll be released. I'm sure he probably can't tell us any specifics. I might try to get him to elaborate on where he thinks the company's going to go in his 2026. Okay, he's coming on, which is our 2025. And, maybe he can talk about China in general. I don't know what else. I guess the Roth, is there a report coming out? I'll ask him that. It's about it that I can think of. And I feel a little naked without all your comments giving me guidance. So he's going to come on in just a minute. What I'll do is get Kristen Shaughnessy to tighten this up. If she's the best, she knows how to edit. I don't. But otherwise, I'll just put it out like this. Sorry, I thought I saw a text from him. We've talked a lot about Finger over the last many months. And I think the Roth Capital offering, in my mind, is a good. It's good that FingerMotion took that capital. It's sizable, 4.6 million net. Well, he'll describe it in the use of proceeds. Oh, that I guess I could ask him about the Chinese New Year. But anyway, I think it's a milestone in the company's forward movement. Unfortunately, it's at $1.50. I believe that Roth Capital will support their own offering, and the stock should drift up to 150, 160, maybe better. My sort of news event or / milestones will be third quarter earnings. The use of proceeds is going to be important, but I don't know when that'll turn into a news announcement, the Roth research report will be very important. And the annual earnings, the fourth quarter, I think that could be an inflection point showing that the company's gone into profitability. All right, he's here. Let's go. Hi, Martin.
Hey, Bill. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I love your office. It always looks clean, spotless, like the janitors just cleaned it all out. And you're
always like to keep a clean virtual background. How's that?
And my background is less impressive. Okay, so I had a little intro because I didn't want to risk not recording while I invited you. So I just went through sort of 6 things, which I think are obvious. Maybe we can, I'm going to let you lead it, but maybe we can hit the audit, the warrant as a dividend, use of proceeds, when the quarterly earnings will be out. I don't know if you can talk about guidance in any way longer term. I'm not talking about third quarter. And maybe you can just discuss what it's like, what happens in China with the Chinese New Year. Maybe you can talk about the China economy and also a Roth report. Those are all the things I thought of. But I'm going to let you go, and I won't interrupt.
Okay. Well, you're welcome to interrupt. That's not a problem. First of all, thanks again for doing this, Bill. It's always nice when you reach out and want to have a chat. I did want to get, I guess, a few words out to your listeners, your viewers, our shareholders, really. Obviously, a lot has happened in the last couple of weeks. Right around Christmas time, New Year's, and I just want to fill everyone in kind of on what's happening. As you just mentioned off the top there, I think the primary thing I really want to talk about is use of proceeds. We did get a good funding through Roth Capital. I do have to give a shout out to them. I thought that they are very professional, and they handled this funding, this registered direct funding very well organized. And for it all to come together, I mean, it was a ton of work for us and our legal counsel, but it just seemed like it was very, very well organized, very step by step. We knew every step that was coming up next, and then to gather everyone at the end. And when I'm talking about gathering, I'm talking about our entire team, the Roth team, our respective counsels, the bank, our transfer agent. Everyone is on a call and to close it all up, and obviously them bringing in the institutional investors to kind of close off the deal. So I do want to give a quick thanks to them, and then obviously raising the funds. The use of proceeds, the primary chunk of the proceeds will obviously go to our operations, to that ERP program that we've been so excited to roll out. Now we have the opportunity to do that. And I'll just explain a bit of the background for that. You got to imagine that our leadership team in China is working very closely with the different government departments that run the ERP program, and for them, a lot of the hesitation in getting this going was obviously making sure that we had the capital behind it to back it, to put out not only the vehicles that are involved, but also all of the equipment. That does take a little bit of capital, and they want to make sure that we had it. And then obviously when we did get it, it was kind of go, let all the horses out and just run with it. So that was their big thing right before the new year for us, was to get the funding out. Go ahead, Bill. Yeah.
ERP, what does that stand for?
Sorry. Yes. Our emergency response program, internally, well, I guess externally from our point of view, we call it the C2 platform, the command and communication platform. That's that platform that's within the vehicles for the emergency response program. China wanted to make sure that all the different cities or provinces all had emergency response vehicles and personnel should anything happen, should a natural disaster happen, earthquakes, floods, anything like that. And so every city has to order a certain number of vehicles or a certain type of equipment, having personnel at the ready should anything happen. And we, like I mentioned in our previous interview, we are the sole aggregators of that entire program for the entire country. The idea that the city would come to us with a particular order, let's say 4 vehicles, 8 vehicles, 10 vehicles, 20 vehicles, depending on the size of their district. And then we would have to say, okay, what kind of vehicle do you want? Do you want this kind of 4x4? Do you want these kind of drones? Do you want this kind of satellite equipment? These kind of cameras? This kind of personnel equipment? And we put it all together and then we ship it out. So obviously this is a massive project for us, and we're happy to obviously take it on. The reason we got this program was obviously because of our ability to aggregate data and build that platform. That's really the crux of the entire project, is making sure that there's a platform that can receive the information when those personnel equipment get to any particular disaster location, receive the information and transmit it very quickly. Build it out and transmit it back to some central location, maybe the central headquarters of a particular city or the country, and then get the proper resources that might need to be redistributed and redispersed back to that emergency location. So that is pretty much the bones of how that project works. And for us to get that going, we did need some capital, and thankfully we did get it at the end of the year. And so we're going forward with that. And that's where really, like I mentioned, the large portion of these proceeds will be going towards. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be a portion of the proceeds go to our fundamental businesses, which are Top Up and SMS. They're going to obviously get some more funding to have that cash in the bank for those Top Up transactions, which we've been talking about for a few years, and continue to let that grow. Right. We do step back every quarter, every year, certainly looking at where we think things are going to go. One of the things we're going to review is our SMS business. Is that a move to the future? Is that something that's going to change down the road? How marketing works in China and the commercial environment there. So we'll take a look at that and see where our investments make the most sense, let's say between Top Up and SMS. Additional funding obviously goes to Sapientis, which is something that I really want to talk about as well. I think I've mentioned on our last call, Bill, about how I've been trying to be as patient as I can with our Sapientis team in building it out. And I don't hold it against them. I mean, obviously they work with giant companies. Munich Re is a very large reinsurance company, and they move at a pace that I guess befits a large insurance company. And they want to make sure that the product that they're getting is going to be profitable for them. And then when you're building out something that you're working with big data and all the information that we get, it takes a long time to figure all that out. And I literally was just on kind of an email thread and discussion with our leader of our Sapientis team. And he's working as hard as he can, and he's moving and making sure that there's a lot of, progress where they can push it along. But again, they do have to wait to make sure that the other side, the insurance team side, are comfortable with the product that we put out. So we're still eager. We're still working hard on that side. So Sapientis is still there. They're still churning out good work. And we just have to sit back and be patient for that to actually become profitable for them. So, that really is where we think a lot of the use of proceeds will go. Obviously, there are some working capital requirements internally for us to run the company that kind of helps us keep moving along internally. But the bulk of that use of proceeds, the $5 million that we were able to raise, will go towards our different revenue driving initiatives, the ERP, Top Up, SMS, and Sapientus. So that's where it's going to go. And the one thing I will add to that is, it doesn't mean we're going to stop raising money. We're still going to keep looking for different avenues where we can raise more money, but we do look to build those divisions to make sure that there is a good drive to our revenue and obviously our drive to profitability down the road. Obviously, with the money coming in towards the end of, let's say, Q3, we hope that we'll see something in Q4 that would kind of show the direction of where we think our revenue is going to go. We'll push hard to see if we can close some of these revenue loops and some of these kind of purchase orders and get them done before our year end in February 28th of 2025. So we do have a few months to get them going and up and running, and we'll see where that goes. But I think a bulk of the results will probably come Q1, which is March, April, May of our following fiscal year. So it's a good push for us, and we'll see where it takes us. What was the next stuff that we want to talk about? Oh, this. So I mentioned the use of funding, Sapientus. There's some chatter I've heard, kind of questioning where our dividend warrant might be, and that kind of goes hand in hand with our auditor. And again, I can back up.
That's two subjects, yeah.
Yeah, I can back up really quickly on that. We did have a switch of auditors, and so part of their due diligence as new auditors, and it's a good thing, is that they're going back 2 years. So they're looking back at fiscal 23 and fiscal 24, and they in essence almost have to re-audit those financial statements, provide new audit reports, because the underlying financial statements on our S3 registration are those two financial years. And so what they do is they go back and re-audit those, recertify them, and then re-provide the consent for that to be used as the underlying financials for our registration statements. And so that's what they're doing. Does it take time? Yeah, it does take time. And so for the dividend warrant that's out there, there also has to be those two financial statements that have to be re-audited. So all they're doing is once they finish that, then we can recertify, I guess that would be the term, the registration statements, and then the dividend warrant can then be released properly. So it really is kind of a two-step process, making sure that the auditors are okay with the financial statements and we don't foresee any issues, and then getting the dividend warrant back out there. So it is still sitting there. It is just really waiting for the auditor to finish their work. I'm not sure what else.
So on the audit, just quickly, once it's done, I guess the shift is something to do with requirements of U.S. raising money in the U.S. My point is does that become positive for FingerMotion raising money here in the United States in the future? Maybe the delay leads to good things. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it will make too much difference. We can't really move on certain things until the audit is done. Yeah. So yeah, I guess from that point of view, it does help. One of the things I can go back to is in terms of the funding that we just did with Roth. You got to remember, we haven't actually raised money in, let's say, a registered direct format in the U.S. at all. So we have no track record here. And it was also Christmas time. And so for us to actually pull together and raise the $5 million that we were able to do, it's obviously a credit to our team to obviously present a product that both Roth and their institutional investors believed in. Looked like it was a good story that they could get behind. And so obviously that made, that was a bit of hard work, but it was good that we were able to get that done. And that just does make it easier for us on the next round because they've seen that we've had that institutional backing before. So it does help.
On Sapientus, where is the lab? Where is it located? What stage are you in as you're getting closer to monetization? And do the insurance companies cover a lot of the overhead.
Yeah. The research labs, well, most of our research analysts are in Hong Kong. But I believe that they actually go into China to do their collaborative work with the insurance companies. The research labs, yes, are funded by the insurance companies. And again, that's part of the good and the bad of it. Obviously, there's no expense on our end, but it does have them dictate the pace in which things are working. And so it's hard to say what stage we're at, because for me, we're at the stage before monetization. That stage could be 2 months long, could be 9 months long. And so far, it's been already about a year since we've been at this stage. And I understand it does take time. Human nature, understanding human behavior and how things work to make sure that, the results that they get are statistically significant and that it can properly predict what someone might do down the road. And I get that it takes a lot of time to put that together. And so that's kind of what is underlying my patience with the team and with these insurance companies. Knowing also that these insurance companies got to be pretty comfortable with the product they push out, that it's going to make money for them as well. So that's where we're at with Sapientus, and we're still there. We're still working hard.
So on those two topics, on the audit and then Sapientus, is there any time frame that you kind of feel like, or you don't really know?
Well, the audit should obviously come first. We do have a Q3 that we're going to be putting out probably in a week or so. That will come out.
A week or so. Okay.
Yeah, a week or so. So that should be coming out. The audit should hopefully finish within this month. They've been at it for a few months now. I do know that obviously 2 years worth of audit reports and financial statements does take a long time to go through. So we'll give them patience on that. And then Sapientus, we do hope that it's at some point this year that we can get that going and get that done. So,
is Roth going to put out a research report?
Another great question. Yes. We have been in touch with the Roth Research Group.
I don't claim credit. People told me that. But anyway,
it's a good question, though. So we have been in touch with Roth. And just so you know, the Roth relationship has been really built up over probably a couple years, really. Wow. Part of it is going out, getting to know them. And that was a couple years ago. I think a year ago was when we really sat down and had a one-on-one meeting. They really liked the story. 6 months ago, we were obviously invited to their conference, which is a big thing for them and their team to hear our story. I had to go down and obviously do a teach-in with their team. And then that's when everything really started to become real and have all that kind of stuff come together to bring in, obviously a deal that we ultimately were able to close. The research side obviously has to be something very different, has to be separate. But we have been in touch with them for probably a year, and we have recently just done an update with them, and I hope to get on another update call with their research team, if not probably next week sometime. We'll see when they have some availability. That's a separate part of the Roth engagement. Obviously, it doesn't tie in, so there's no lines crossed between the funding side and the research side. But we do hope to get them on board and then get a research report from them issued as soon as they can. But they are obviously well aware of our story. They have obviously shared what I've told to them with some of their sales team. And now it's just a matter of getting that research report out. So hopefully that happens soon.
I forgot to ask on the dividend, and you may not know, but if the audit comes relatively soon, you will inform the SEC you have that. Mm-hmm. But do you anticipate delays at the SEC because it's a change of administration or, something like that, or some surprise, or will it move pretty quickly through?
I don't foresee, well, maybe I'm cautiously optimistic, but I don't foresee any issues. Companies switch auditors all the time. Yeah. For us, it's we hopefully find it's a better firm. Okay. So I don't think that should be too much of an issue. certainly from the regulatory side or with the SEC. So we think that it should move along fine. Just making sure that the financial statements are recertified and good to go going forward. So it should be okay.
On the third quarter earnings, I know you probably cannot say anything about those, but would it be, based on our previous interviews, would it be still reasonable to assume that possibly the fourth quarter might give us the sense that your 2026, which is our 2025, will be profitable or approaching profitability? I don't know.
I guess the answer would be yes.
It's a broad question.
Yeah. The Q3 probably won't reflect. Again, I don't want to give any indications of anything, but I would say yes, the Q4 results will reflect obviously more of where the funding came into play that we just raised. And it will indicate more so what will happen in the upcoming fiscal year, which is calendar primarily 2025 and our fiscal 2026. Yes, you are correct. So
okay, and then I know you wanted to keep this short, so I'll just talk about the year. Is it the year of the dragon coming up? It's somebody told me that it's a lucky sign and you're supposed to throw out the old and embrace the new. I don't know if that's true, but it might.
Well, that is true, but that's true for any new Chinese New Year. So what Chinese New Year this year is January 28th. I think that's New Year's Eve. Maybe 29th is New Year. But what typically happens is it is, I would say, the biggest celebration. Yeah, it's the biggest celebration in China, and there is quite a shutdown. And so what happens is, I think for about a week or 2 weeks ish, there really isn't much going on. And so for that period of time, this is why we wanted the funding in so early, so that we do get a chunk of January to get things up and rolling, get those contracts going, get those orders in, particularly for the ERP program, get them up and running before Chinese New Year hit. Because once Chinese New Year hits, a lot of people maybe return home to from the cities to their villages, celebrate Chinese New Year for a week at least, if not longer, and then get back to work sometime in, let's say, early February. So there is a shutdown period during that time.
And you can't talk about that contract that much, but I assume the margins are high.
The margins are much better, let's say, than something that we would be going through with the top up in the SMS. Okay. So yes, they are.
And the credit, the other side of the transaction is the government. It's local, state. Yeah. I don't know if that's called state, and national. Are those good credits? In other words,
yeah,
we hear China's, and I don't know if China has economic difficulty.
Yeah, but when it
does it affect the ability to collect from the government?
No. I think when you're dealing, it's certainly internally in the country with agreements made between, let's say, what would be a private company and a government contract. There's no, that's the highest rated level of credit there is. That doesn't go obviously commenting on anything that's happening between countries, let's say.
Oh, I understand.
But within the country, yeah, I don't have any concerns about any credit issues with the Chinese government.
Do you think because of that credit rating, let's say, or the quality of that revenue, that eventually you'll be able to raise money more in the debt market than in the equity market? Or is it?
I think we raise money in the company in terms that we find most advantageous to the company. Okay. So if there's something, let's say, debt related now, that had good terms, we probably would entertain it. We're not fans, obviously, of having too much debt on the balance sheet. We want to make sure that our our liability side are as low as possible. But if there's something that is comfortable and feasible and does work well and seems like it could be something that we would take advantage of, we will certainly entertain it.
Yeah.
Obviously, this recent funding is more an equity-based funding, and we negotiated the best terms that we could. But having the cash in, I think, was more important operationally for us to get, like I said, get these ERP contracts off the ground, get them going, and then run with it and see where that takes us. Primarily, hopefully in Q4.
And that price of that deal must have been done. Roth must have been talking with the auditor and knows your situation. So that's maybe it's lower than people wanted, but at least you got the money and you're moving forward.
Exactly. That's what I mean. And they, the registered direct type of deal is an interesting kind of animal to work with. You don't really know what the terms are going to be until it finally closes. And then it negotiates back and forth. It could have been much, much lower. Obviously, historically, with some of the people that we've dealt with before, and some of the terms that were being thrown to us outside of this Roth deal, the terms were much, much worse. And we just weren't going to accept it. We said that, it doesn't help us. And then the mechanisms behind some of the deals with repricing and all that sort of stuff just weren't attractive. So having something like this put in front of us where, we take a little discount, but it sets a floor for us for the stock price. I think that was important. And like you mentioned, getting the funds in the door to get us going on the projects that we think are more important, the actual operations of the company, was a priority for us. So we're happy to get that done, and we'll see how the Q4 results come out. So.
It's terrific. I promised you a short interview. It's 30 minutes just over 30 minutes. So I won't ask anything else, but if you want to say some last words.
I think, I again thank you for reaching out and taking time to do this. I think it's important that people knew what we're going to do, primarily with the use of proceeds, understanding that some of our different divisions are still there. They're still working hard, particularly Sapientis, that they're still there. What the auditor is going through and what they need to finish up before we can issue the dividend warrant. But ultimately, the fundraising was important for us. We think it'll really kick off some results for us. It's difficult for me in my position to necessarily comment, on let's say where the stock price is and what maybe happened subsequent to the funding. There are two sides to the things that we as a management team have to juggle, both the operational side, the success of the revenue, the financial statements and all that sort of stuff, and also understanding that there is the public facing side, the stock price and all that. And so we kind of have to organize ourselves in a manner where we're focused on driving the revenue and driving the profits. But on the other side, balancing it out, knowing that there is this public side that we also have to at least acknowledge and recognize as something that's important. So, we again thank you, our supporters and your viewers and listeners for their continued support. And we are optimistic about what might be coming up for, let's say, the last quarter of this year and certainly in calendar 2025. So keep your eye out for what's happening. So
Happy New Year in here and in China.
Yeah.
Year of the Dragon.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Martin. So we'll end it there. Thanks for watching.
Okay. Thanks, Bill.
Soon.
You bet.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.